I have great news, the best news, the most amazing news. Aldi and Walmart are both dropping their prices to pre-inflation prices for the Thanksgiving season. Hi, and welcome to Meals with Maria. When I heard this news, I was ecstatic. This is such great news for everyone out there trying to just shop for their family for Thanksgiving and through the holidays. This inspired me to put together this compilation video where I have a $20 Thanksgiving at Walmart, a $20 Thanksgiving at Aldi, and what now would be today, I know Dollar Tree's not dropping their prices, a $25 Thanksgiving meal at Dollar Tree. All of these meals are different, they're all affordable, and I'm hoping that they give you some great inspiration and ideas to make it through this holiday season. As always, if you are really struggling this holiday season, there is nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to everyone. Everyone goes through tough times. Your local church, food pantry, or food bank is there to help. Do not be afraid to reach out. There are people that are there to help you. And if you can, make sure to grab some extra goods or maybe perhaps donate some cash to your local church or food pantry to help people out during this holiday season. And always, really. So here are 3 amazing dinners for you. Like I said, they are from past years, so they have those pre-inflation prices. I am hoping that we can still find some of those deals this year, thanks to Walmart and Aldi. Here is everything that I purchased for our Thanksgiving dinner tonight. So the big item, the item of the day is our frozen turkey. It is defrosted, it's thawed now. Now, this turkey came in at 68 cents a pound and was $9.11 for 13.4 pounds. If I could have, I would have just gotten a 10-pound turkey, but this was the smallest that they had. So had to go with it. That took up a big chunk of my budget. So my intention was to do $20. I did spend $22.17, but I think that it was pretty much worth it. You could really cut out any of these things if you wanted to, especially like this whipped topping, but we'll get to that. So I bought some eggs. This was $1.17. I could have cut out a little bit of cost had I bought maybe half a dozen eggs. I think that's like 67 cents. I did want 12 because I actually want to be able to use some of these for breakfast the next day. So I just thought ahead, and I'm trying to come on with like a little bit of a more inexpensive, or say you have more people. I mean, you can feed a lot of people with a 13-pound turkey, and then 12 eggs if you are making deviled eggs like I will be. 2 sweet potatoes, and these total 98 cents for 2. I have these chips. I got this bag of chips. It was like $1.68, and then you got 75 cents off on Ibotta. So these came in at 93 cents, but say you don't have Ibotta for whatever reason and you can't use that, they did have like Pringles and stuff that were the Walmart brand for $1. So you could still get chips for around $1. Carrots, these are 82 cents a pound. Margarine is 84 cents. Potatoes, 5 pounds for $1.77. Cranberry sauce, this was like a big upsell for me. It was $1.28. I felt like that was very expensive for a can of cranberry sauce. Then sour cream, this is $1. Honestly, you have an extra, a few extra bucks. Buy the full container of it. You pay more for the 8-ounce container versus a 16 is an insignificant amount more, but because we're trying to keep this to very minimal cost, I bought the $1 one. Turkey stuffing, we will be making our own gravy from this turkey, so we don't need a gravy mix. So I forgot to put these in at first. And then scallions, these are 50 cents. This is cheaper than buying an onion. So that's often what I buy when I'm doing a challenge like this, because you're just trying to keep your pennies down. I got milk. That was $1.27. If you could find a smaller container of milk, I definitely won't need all of this milk, but that was the smallest container I could find. And look, Dan broke into it. Like, what the heck? I was like, did you drink that milk? He's like, yeah, I put it in my coffee. I'm like, that's for something special. And then for dessert, okay, I wanted to bake a pie so bad. Like, I'm like, what is Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie? But pumpkin pie, or like pumpkin or even pumpkin pie filling, it's expensive. especially when we only have $20. And then either you can buy a pie crust or make one, but I mean, you're talking about like $5 just for the pie. So my intention was just to buy two and get apple and pumpkin, but they didn't have that. So we did sweet potato and peach. And then initially they had switched out my pumpkin pie for this chocolate cake. And I was like, why? When I went into the store and I was like, yeah, sweet potato. Like, why would you not switch pumpkin for sweet potato? But who even knows? So I ended up picking up the sweet potato, but they had switched out these two. So we have peach pie, chocolate cake, and sweet potato pie. I think for 4 people, you could probably swap out one of these and take it out. So you could definitely get to the $20 mark. And then I also bought this whipped topping for, I think it was 84 cents. So that is everything we purchased. So for appetizers, we're going to do some chips and dip, deviled eggs, and then we're going to be doing some potato salad cups. For dinner, we're obviously going to have our turkey, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, carrots, gravy, stuffing, cranberry sauce. That's like a lot of food. I'm excited. And then for dessert, we're going to have our pies. Let's get cooking. So since there's no pies to bake today, we just get to get right into it with the turkey. I'm just going to cut it kind of open in my sink. I did make sure to clean up my sink really well before taking the turkey out in there, but I find that this is the cleanest and easiest method for doing it. And then I'm going to be using a recipe from Taste Better from scratch, and it is a easy, simple, no fuss turkey recipe, which is awesome. I was just trying to pick something that was kind of lower in ingredients and just very simple, easy, that anybody can use. So I just want to take out the neck of the turkey inside here, and then there's also the giblets, which are in the backside. So if you're not familiar with cooking a whole turkey, make sure to go in there and pull everything out. I also want to let you guys know that I took my turkey out 3 days from before cooking this in the freezer, and I actually did end up running it under some cold water to really make sure that it was fully defrosted. So it does take 3, 4, 5, depending on how many pounds your turkey is, days to defrost. So just consider that before buying a frozen turkey and make sure that you have ample time to defrost it. So here you can just see I'm really going to town with the margarine. I want to get kind of in those flaps there. You see how I kind of open up the side of the turkey? I'm actually putting margarine underneath the skin. This will help the turkey to be very, very moist. I kind of like using the margarine just because it's so soft and it's easy to just kind of massage into the bird. This makes the bird, taste really good, get really crispy. It also gives a really nice base for the herbs to stick to. So here I'm actually just using the bottom of the scallions and putting them inside the cavity of the turkey. For this recipe, I am not going to stuff it with stuffing. If you cook turkey with stuffing, it does end up cooking for longer, and I personally don't like that because then you cook your turkey for longer just to cook the stuffing, and it can make it dry. So I'm just using the ends of those scallions as my onion, and if you had some celery or a lemon, I definitely recommend putting that in. We just don't have that today. It still tasted delicious. And so I'm just putting a sprinkle of some pepper, salt, parsley, rosemary, and then sage and thyme, kind of just rubbing that all over the bird. You can just sprinkle it as I did. Probably used about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. You really can't go too crazy on this. I mean, it's herbs, it's the skin of the turkey. It's going to give it flavor, and it's going to be delicious kind of no matter what you do. Once the bird is fully dressed, I'm just going to tuck the wings underneath the back of the turkey. I find that this helps them from getting dried out or burnt. And then I'm going to tuck my little drumsticks back into this little plastic thing. This is totally fine for cooking in, and it keeps your bird close together so that it is juicier when it comes out. For this recipe, I'm cooking my turkey at 325 degrees for 13 to 15 minutes per pound. So my turkey took a little over 3 hours. I was lucky enough that the turkey had a little timer in it, so whenever that timer popped up, I knew it was done, but you're going to want to look for an internal temperature of 165 degrees if you do not have a timer. Here I'm just going to get started on hard boiling my eggs. So I put my 6 eggs into a small pot, and I'm going to cover them with about 1 inch of water on top of them. And I usually just use my steamer, but since I'm trying to go with our stovetop cooking method, I'm going to show you how to do them on the stove. I'm just going to heat these over high heat until they come up to a boil, at which point I'm going to turn the heat off and put a cover on the pot. I'm going to let them sit for 10 minutes and then pour them into an ice bath. While those are cooking, I'm going to start peeling my vegetables. It is important to just invest in a Dollar Tree peeler. You can get as many of these as you'd like. I try and have 3 or 4 rounds so that when I have people coming to help at Thanksgiving time, I have plenty of people that can peel. I honestly just really like the Betty Crocker Dollar Tree ones, so that's why I'm recommending it to you guys. So I'm just going to peel my potatoes. I do have 5 pounds of potatoes, which is more than I actually need for my mashed potatoes alone. So I'm going to make a twice baked potato. I know I said earlier that I was going to make potato salad cups, but going through the recipes, I just changed my mind, and I think that the twice baked potatoes would be better for us, given our ingredients. So I'm just going to peel enough to make our mashed potatoes, and then I'm also going to boil some potatoes in with that have the skins on so that I can make the twice baked potatoes. And I'm actually going to leave 3 potatoes so that we can have those tomorrow with our breakfast. I'm going to make a turkey hash, so I'm going to use our leftover eggs and our leftover potatoes and be able to make breakfast out of ingredients 100% from what we had tonight for dinner. Now I'm just going to cover these potatoes with water and bring them up to a boil and cook them for about 15 minutes until they're tender. Mashed potatoes are awesome for making ahead at Thanksgiving. You can 100% cook them ahead of time and then reheat them right on the stove by just adding a little bit of extra milk as you go just to kind of rehydrate them. But you can absolutely make them ahead, put them on low, and then just stir them when the time comes so that you have a nice warm fresh mashed potato. I feel like Thanksgiving is a multitasker's dream. So you have to think about a lot of things and getting a lot of things done in a short period of time, kind of all at once. So my eggs are still on the stove, my potatoes are still on the stove. I am now going to peel my sweet potatoes, and I realize that my eggs are about to come off. So I go and get an ice bath for those eggs and plop those eggs straight into the ice bath. That is what will cool them down now that the 10 minutes is up in their hot water, and they should be perfectly cooked. I should mention that my mashed potato recipe and egg recipe and everything will be posted below in the description box. I'm using a mashed potato recipe from Food Network, and I'm also using a sweet potato recipe that is very simple. So our sweet potatoes are just going to be kind of diced into, I would say, ice cube sized. And then we're going to boil them and mash them. Basically, they're a whipped sweet potato, but they're very minimal and simple ingredients. They still taste delicious. For my carrots, I am just going to peel and slice them diagonally. I am using a recipe from acoupleofcooks.com for perfectly sauteed carrots. When I'm looking for recipes, especially in a situation like this where I have minimal ingredients, I am usually searching simple, easy, basic, and looking for recipes with as minimal ingredients as possible, but with high star ratings. So you can usually find things that really highlight the ingredient without adding a bunch of things that you would have to purchase. Are you ready for Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
What's your favorite for Thanksgiving?
Aldi.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, go play with Daddy.
Okay.
Guys, how adorable. He got all dressed up to go out and work on the barn with Daddy. Too much. And cheers. It is caffeine time. We're about halfway through cooking this dinner, and I needed a little pick-me-up. So carrots are chopped, sweet potatoes are chopped, regular mashed potatoes are cooking, the turkey's in the oven, and I'm about to start on some appetizers here. So into a half a cup of my sour cream, I'm mixing a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of dill weed, and 1 teaspoon of dried parsley. Into that, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of chopped scallion, and I'm just going to put it in the fridge and kind of let it all meld together. This dip ended up being phenomenal. It was really, really good. So just know, if you have sour cream and a bunch of spices around, you absolutely can make a dip, and it can be very inexpensive, especially if you have to kind of rush to something and you're going to someone's house and you're like, what am I even going to bring? If you have sour cream and you have herbs, you are ready to go. No problem there. At this point, my potatoes have finished cooking, so my peeled potatoes I'm just going to put in this large pot. It's actually the pot I boiled them in, so 2 for 1, use something so you don't have to do more dishes. And we're just going to add 3 tablespoons of margarine, 1 cup of milk, and about a tablespoon of salt. Definitely do not hesitate to taste this as you go. I actually implore you to taste it as you go, because you need to add more salt if necessary. And also, as you're mashing it, you might need to add more milk if it seems too dry. It kind of depends on how many potatoes you have and the consistency of the potatoes. I'm just using a hand masher today, but if you wanted, you could put it into your mixer and use the beaters on the mixer to mash the potatoes, and that definitely brings you a creamier potato. But like I said, we are going old school today and we're just using the hand masher. I honestly like them this way anyway. It depends on, you know, total preference, whether you want like a chunkier or a creamier potato. Once these are mashed, I'm just gonna leave them on the stove with a cover on them, and when we are ready to kind of cut the turkey and everything, I'm gonna put them on low, mash them around again, and add more milk if needed. Now I'm gonna work on my once boiled, once baked potatoes, as I'm going to call them. I noticed that earlier, that they are actually boiled and then I will bake them. So I'm just going to slice them in half and then carve out the insides. These were still very hot, so I may recommend waiting a little bit longer. I was just being impatient. I'm going to be adding 2 scallions sliced up very thinly to the insides of the potatoes, as well as the rest of my sour cream, which is about 1/2 cup, and 2 tablespoons of margarine. In the end, I did decide to add these bacon bits that I had gotten at the Dollar Tree. I kind of thought, well, they're kind of part of my pantry items. Getting those little tiny bacon bits from McCormick are very, very inexpensive. So if you have them, definitely add them. If you don't, it is 100% okay. They weren't going to make a huge difference to it. I just figured since I had them, I would use them. As you can see, I was just using a potato masher to mash up the insides, and now I'm just going to stuff the shells. I'll be baking these in the oven at the 325 that the turkey's on, so I'm just sliding them in right above my turkey in the oven for about 10 minutes, and it will heat them up just fine. At this point, it's been a few hours, so I just wanted to check on my turkey, and she or he is looking good. Now, I have already peeled my eggs because that's boring to watch, but I'm just showing you that I cut open my eggs and they are perfectly cooked. It could not get any better than that. So I'm just gonna slice my eggs in half and put the yolks into my Pyrex measuring cup and place the others on a plate. Now, super important when making deviled eggs, if you do not have mayonnaise on hand, you can make mayonnaise out of eggs and oil. So if you have eggs and oil, you can absolutely make mayonnaise. I will post a video down below where I do this process and it turns out amazing. So do not fear, you don't have to buy the expensive Hellmann's mayonnaise. In this case, I only needed 2 tablespoons, so I did not want to make mayonnaise just for that. I feel like there are 1,000 deviled egg recipes out there that range from extremely complicated to extremely simple, so I tried to find the simplest recipe that I could with, again, minimal ingredients, and these ended up tasting phenomenal. So you really don't need to go too crazy by adding 1,000 extra ingredients. Mayonnaise, salt, and some mustard will do it for you. And honestly, mayonnaise and salt is just fine as well. When you're not using like a pastry filler or something like that, I feel like you just got to get your finger in there and use it to fill the deviled eggs. So that is the scientific method for filling deviled eggs when you don't have a, what is it, like a pastry squeak. I don't even know what the word is, but just got to kind of get in there and try and make it look pretty. And then I'm going to top these with a little bit of paprika. If you have it, use it. It looks really cute. I mean, I don't know if it adds too much to the flavor, but if you don't, it's no big deal anyway. These still taste good and they still look really cute. So for our pies, I did just want to kind of arrange them in a cute little way. So I'm just taking them all out of the containers and then slicing them into little pieces. I figured it can almost be like a chip and dip. So we're just gonna take our little pieces of pie, place them around the plate, and then in the middle, I'm gonna put the whipped cream. So or whipped topping, I guess. So the whipped topping goes in the middle, and then you can kind of take a piece and dip it.
Did you buy this turkey?
Yes, I did. That's when I got it.
So after about 3.5 hours, my turkey was done, and doesn't she look beautiful? So I'm just gonna pour the fat from the bottom of the turkey pan right into our gravy separator. Now, you can kind of see here, I actually had the turkey in the pan Probably not the brightest idea. Next time I would just pull the turkey out and then pour the juices into the separator. So I'm going to recommend that for you guys. Just put it on another plate while you pour it out. And then I'm actually going to deglaze the pan. So the pan without the turkey has a lot of really good juices in it. So I'm going to pour about a cup of boiling water in there, and that's just going to pull all of the stuff from the bottom of the pan, all the really, really flavorful drippings off. And then I'm going to pour that also into our gravy separator. Right now we're about to have some appetizers, so I'm actually going to be setting my turkey aside. So we're just going to cover it up with some tin foil and keep it warm for a while. It is finally time to enjoy some of the fruits of our labor and have our appetizers. It was a really nice day out on this day, so we were able to enjoy these on the patio. You can see the twice baked potatoes. I poured some chips around our dip here and our deviled egg. My kids are obsessed with deviled eggs, so they ate most of those, and we really, really loved the dip, and the twice baked potatoes were pretty good as well. After relaxing for a little bit and enjoying some food, my mom went in the other room and played a game with the kids while I worked on getting the final pieces of the dinner finished. So here you can just see I am adding the carrots to about a tablespoon of olive oil and covering them and cooking them for 4 minutes over medium-high heat. When the 4 minutes is up, just take the cover off, add about half a teaspoon of salt, and saute, stirring frequently for 3 to 4 minutes. These carrots turned out phenomenally. They cooked up so well. I'm doing nothing fancy with the stuffing. I'm just adding 4 tablespoons of margarine to a cup and a half of water as the instructions say on the package, and bringing that to a boil, then pouring in our stuffing mix. At that point, we're just gonna take it off of the heat and let it sit. After 5 minutes, fluff with a fork and it's done. At the same time I got my sweet potatoes started, so I forgot to mention, but I put those on with about a 1/4 cup of water, covering them, and boiled them for about 10 minutes. At this point, I'm just gonna strain them out, but keep them hot for sure, so pour them right back into that pan. Mash them with 2 tablespoons of margarine, about a half a cup of milk, and I'm just using my potato masher again here. I did forget to add cinnamon, so at the end here, I'm just sprinkling in about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. That is really your preference. I feel like cinnamon you can never go wrong with. My son absolutely loves cinnamon, so I try to add a little bit extra always. I'm just gonna mash those up, and that's pretty much gonna give us our whipped and fluffy sweet potatoes. These were phenomenal. They're so, so good. You don't really have to do too much to sweet potatoes to really make them very flavorful. One of the last steps to getting dinner ready and on the table is actually making the gravy. So this gravy separator is awesome. If you do not have one, seriously, remember to get one before Thanksgiving. I will have one linked for you. It separates the fat from the gravy perfectly so that all that really brown, good, flavorful stuff goes into the pan and the fat stays out. So this recipe is my mom's gravy recipe. That's why I was so glad that she was here today. She's making the gravy for me. So she says it's about 2 heaping teaspoonfuls of flour, and you just want to sift it and then whisk it. The key is that you're whisking it over medium heat the entire time until it thickens. This gravy turned out so good. It is no lumps in it. It has so much flavor, and that's really all you have to do. So just whisk and whisk until it's ready. At this point, there's only 2 things left to do. Carve the turkey and get everything on the table. This is everything I purchased at Dollar Tree, and it cost me $19. My goal is to have a full Thanksgiving dinner, dessert, and an appetizer. So here's what I got. We're going with this deli-style roasted turkey breast because that's what they have for turkey. This is not my ideal turkey choice. If I were to do this, I would probably get the rest of the stuff because everything else looks really good and I'm excited to have it. And then I would purchase a turkey because turkeys are pretty inexpensive, so that would put you over the $20 mark, but I think it might be worth it in this case. So either way, I'm gonna probably heat this up and put some gravy over it, and we're just gonna make it work. For my appetizer, I decided to get a little bit of cocktail shrimp. I have gotten these before, they're not bad. I'm just gonna thaw them out in a little water. Obviously, if you have more people than just one or maybe two, you may want to get more of these. In this case, I really had planned on just kind of being able to serve myself and maybe a little bit of my family. There's definitely going to be more casseroles and whatnot. And I got this sparkling white grape juice because what's Thanksgiving without a little bubbly? And they sell those at the Dollar Tree, which is, they're so cute. You could even put them, like if you got 4 of them, you could put them at the table or, you know, split them either way. They do not have cocktail sauce at the Dollar Tree, or at least the one I went to. So I got this hot and spicy ketchup. I'm hoping that this is going to be a good match for cocktail sauce and help me out with my shrimp. Also, for the appetizer section, I got these bagel chips, and this is reminding me, I actually spent $20. Ta-da! That makes it 20 bucks. I got this pepper jack cheese to go with these roasted garlic bagel chips. These are delicious. I can't wait to try them. So that's cheese and crackers, also for an appetizer. So far, we've got shrimp and cheese and crackers. And then I got some milk. That's gonna go for our mashed potatoes and a couple other things. We got this classic pork sausage, which will be great for stuffing. I really wanted to get like some pepperoni, so I ended up with this little tiny Lunchable that has pepperoni, cheese, and crackers. So this will also go on our little appetizer platter. I found these Hawaiian rolls, which I thought were such a great deal. Nothing like having like a warm buttered roll with your Thanksgiving, but there was no stuffing at my Dollar Tree. I am ending up having to make stuffing out of these Hawaiian rolls, so I'm really excited to see how that turns out when I mix that with my sausage. Obviously, I got my margarine. I always want to tell you guys, margarine is cheaper at Walmart. It's $1 at the Dollar Tree, but it's 84 cents at Walmart, so just remember that. Don't always buy it there if you don't have to. And they had cranberry sauce, jellied. I'm like, this is perfect. My son is super excited about that. That's his favorite. He calls it that jelly stuff. Who doesn't love it? And I got some green beans because we're gonna make traditional green bean casserole. We also got some cream of mushroom, which was awesome. Turkey gravy. This is obviously gonna go over my turkey with my cranberry. They didn't have French fried onions, but they did have these onion flavored rings. So we're gonna make the best out of it and see if we can make a delicious green bean casserole with the onion flavored rings. Being resourceful, guys. And they always have this apple pie filling. I've never tried it before, so we're gonna try and zazz that up. Make our own pie crust with this flour and our margarine, and I think that is going to turn out quite good. We're just going to have a little bit of corn because that is a traditional Thanksgiving side, and some mashed potatoes because, again, traditional. We're not going too crazy here. We're not going to try and make anything like completely out of the ordinary and wild. I just want to see if we can have a good old-fashioned Thanksgiving at the Dollar Tree. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is defrost my shrimp. In order to thaw the shrimp, just pour them into a bowl of cold water and let them sit. Eventually, the ice will melt. The next thing I'm going to do is make my pie crust. So I want to get that pie in the oven so I cook it before I cook anything else. I love using a food processor for making my pie crust, but you absolutely don't have to. To make the crust, you're going to want to make a little bowl of ice water and then mix 1 teaspoon of salt with 3 cups of flour. Meanwhile, I have my butter chilling in the fridge. I'm going to take out 2 sticks of it and cut it into small squares. Place this in your food processor along with your flour. Then process until it almost forms a ball. It will get a lot harder and the food processor will seem like it's not really ready to cut it up anymore, and it will be ready to form into a ball. It will have almost like a Play-Doh consistency. You can see how it's definitely going to mold together. Just going to put some flour out on my counters. If you see in the background, we have some construction going on. I am actually getting a new kitchen, which is very exciting. Something we've been looking into for a while. But because of that, I'm just going to roll this right out on my counter because I don't really care that much about my counter at this point. New countertops coming soon. You just want to roll it into a ball, but you really don't want to over process it, right? We want to make sure that that butter stays nice and cold and everything stays flaky. I'm just going to cut it into 2 and then roll it out to, I would say, about 1/8 of an inch. It's really, really small, maybe 1/16 of an inch. Just think about like a regular Pillsbury pie crust that you buy at the store. You want yours to be just about the same. So once it's rolled out, I'm going to show you a fun little trick. Just put your rolling pin in the middle and then roll your pie dough over it so that it actually hangs onto your rolling pin. This allows you to just roll it back out onto your pie plate. I'm using a tart plate because I only bought 1 jar of the apple pie filling, and that makes about 1/2 of a full-size pie. So I'm just using a little tart plate because I'm making a much smaller apple pie than I would if I had bought 2 of the apple pie fillings. If you're trying to serve more people, by all means, you're going to have plenty of dough, so go ahead and buy that second can to make the full pie. Just rolling out my second piece of dough, and I'm going to use a pizza cutter to cut the dough into strips in order to make a lattice topping. If you want to, you can just put a full piece over the pie. It just depends on your preference. So I'm just going to put my apple pie filling into my tart pan in the bottom here. I did decide I would add a little bit more cinnamon, and then if I had it, I would have added some lemon. I love lemon in my pie. If you watch my lattice technique here, I'm going to go side to side putting the lattice on. I find that this is the most efficient way for me to be able to follow through on a lattice topping. If I did one side all at once and then try to add everything after, I do tend to get a little bit lost there, so I feel like just adding one side or one piece to each side at a time is the easiest way for me to make my lattice topping. So here I did just decide to add on like a little turkey in the middle of my pie. When you have extra pie dough, it's always fun to just play around with little shapes and see what you can do. I even used the cap of the milk to try and make the body of the turkey. It turned out pretty cute and was definitely worth putting on there. Just always fun to make everybody happy and to take a look at it and say, oh, look at that. And then with the pie, I do put a little bit of aluminum foil around the edge of the crust. I know there are like fancy pie crust savers out there, but I find that aluminum foil works just fine. Next thing I'm going to make is our green bean casserole. So I'm just going to pour our green beans into a casserole container, maybe a smaller one. Had I had 2 cans, that would have totally worked, but I just need a little smaller one. So I'm making half the recipe. So I'm just using half the can of cream of mushroom, a 1/4 cup of milk, and then some of these French fried onion ring things. So I'm just gonna kind of break them up with my hands, kind of just got in there and made it work, and then mix everything around. This is gonna end up cooking in the oven at 350 for like 20 minutes, but I'm just making it ahead of time because I wanna have our appetizers in a little bit. Just want this to be ready to pop in the oven when I'm ready to cook on the stove. Just adding a little bit of fresh pepper at the end, and this is ready to cook. Next thing I'm going to do is make our stuffing. So I am using 3 of my Hawaiian rolls. I am going to save 3 of them for myself and my kids to eat with our dinner. And I'm just going to cut them up into little squares, like little stuffing squares. If you have more people coming, absolutely buy a second bag of the Hawaiian rolls, or I even think it would be better and more cost effective to just buy a loaf of bread. I think you get a lot of stuffing out of that, and you know what, just have a couple slices of toast. So here I'm just measuring out to see how much bread I actually have because I want to break down my recipe. I did link the recipe that I based this on below. I'm just going to use 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm just going to melt this up in a pan and then add a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm putting this in for like 2 seconds. I just want my butter to mix up with this and kind of get that little toasted flavor. The recipe calls for fresh, but obviously we don't have that. And then I'm just mixing it into my stuffing cubes. Next thing I'm going to do is cook up my pork. I would say that if you're going to buy any meat at the dollar store, this is it. This is 100% pork sausage. It's really good stuff. Just cooks up wonderfully. It tastes really good. You would never know you got it at the Dollar Tree. And it was perfect for this recipe. My stuffing did end up being very sausage heavy, I guess you could say, but I thought it was delicious. Here I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of salt to my stuffing, then some parsley, about a 1/4 teaspoon, sage, again a 1/4 teaspoon, and rosemary, a 1/4 teaspoon. This is a very small portion of stuffing, so you really don't need too many herbs. Then we're going to add the sausage into the stuffing mix, all of the fat in there. That is part of what makes the stuffing delicious. You want all of that pork fat. I'm going to mix this up and then add about 1/8 cup of water. So I do need a little bit more moisture in my stuffing. The recipe calls for chicken broth, but we don't have it, so we're just going to add a little bit of water just to moisten it up. With about 10 minutes left on your pie, you want to pull the sides with the aluminum foil off so that the crust can bake. I picked the same casserole dish as I'm using for the green bean casserole to cook my stuffing. I'm just buttering the sides and then pouring it in. Once I put the green bean casserole in, it's going to be time to put the stuffing in as well. So far, I've made the stuffing and my green bean casserole. I'm setting aside my turkey and my mashed potatoes, as well as my corn, cranberry sauce, and turkey gravy because it's time for some appetizers. So I'm just going to get the appetizers ready, and I know that when we are done eating those, I can get all of this in the oven and start cooking everything else I need to on the stove. For appetizers, I got this cheddar jack cheese, so I am just going to slice it up. I had an idea. I was like, why don't we make a beautiful turkey display for our cheese platter? At the last minute here, I was like, that bowl is far too large to be the turkey body. So I just put my hot and spicy ketchup in the smaller bowl and then added the shrimp all around. Doesn't look exactly like a turkey, but kind of get the picture. I feel like it's still very festive.
Homeowners and renters insurance.
Got that from the store?
Needless to say, the appetizers were a huge hit. Everybody loved them. Now it's finally time to make our meal. So I'm just adding water and butter per the package instructions for our mashed potatoes. I'm just going to heat the corn up until it boils. That is what the can says to do. And I'm also warming up the turkey gravy. Once everything is boiling in that pot, I'm going to add 2 cups of the potato flakes, which is for 4 servings. If you're having more people, make larger servings. There is plenty of margarine and plenty of milk to make as many mashed potatoes as you want out of what you already purchased. Just going to mix this up and we have our mashed potatoes. They are super simple and they're actually really, really good. In order to cook the turkey, I'm just putting a little bit of butter in a pan and then I'm just gonna like pan fry it. You could serve it cold if you wanted to, but I kind of wanted like a warm turkey so I could put some gravy over it and just make it a whole thing. Tasted really good like this. I was honestly really, really impressed. Like I thought I was gonna be like, ew, deli turkey is this side for our meal, but I liked it. I kind of am not against it. And here is the slicing of the cranberry sauce. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I mean, you gotta watch it. It's beautiful. And if you let me know if you're a canned jellied cranberry sauce fan or a homemade or the other stuff. I like both, but there is a special place in my heart for that canned jellied cranberry sauce. So off comes some of the turkey. I'm just gonna put a little bit of butter on top of my corn. And final touches, adding the onions on top of my green bean casserole. Everything looks really good. This is our entire meal here. And I'll say it later, but I know that you could probably serve 4 people very comfortably with this food. Maybe buy one more thing of turkey and you would be in good shape. This makes a lot of food for $20. It's mealtime. Cheers, guys. Bud, you excited?
Yeah, I think so.
No, thank you.
All right, guys. Like for real though, that was a lot of work in a short period of time. And it was delicious. And I wanted to show you guys what I had left. So you saw us all eating there. I had plenty of food. The kids had plenty of food. Dan had something different, but I should have just given him this. I think he would have enjoyed it, so I should have given it to him. But I just wanted to show you guys what I have left here. A bunch of cranberry sauce, about half a thing of the stuffing, more than half a thing of the green bean casserole because the kids wouldn't eat that. Quite a bit of mashed potatoes. We've got gravy. And then I do have a little bit of these bagel chips, like barely any, but you could make breadcrumbs from them. And then the same thing with these. So that makes me think, add those together, food processor, make some breadcrumbs and then bread some chicken or something. I don't know. I have about a pound of flour left. 1 stick of margarine, quite a bit of corn, and then I only made 4 servings of the mashed potatoes, so I still have 7 servings left, quite a bit. So there's quite a bit of mashed potatoes left. There's quite a bit of milk, like over half the container here. I have half the container of the mushroom soup and even a slice of turkey. So I have some ideas what we could do with leftovers here. Oh, I also wanted to say, I think that with this meal, like especially maybe buy 1 more package of the turkey, or maybe 2, whatever. You can definitely feed 4 people. You could probably feed close to 6 people. You know, you just add a couple extra things, but that's quite a lot of food and quite a lot of, you know, feeding people for just $20. So you can do a lot at the Dollar Tree. This guy here was really good. Like I don't even know, like I don't really know what French fried onions are, if they're any different than these onion rings here, but this tasted like any other green bean casserole I've ever had. It was awesome. And then really like this with the sausage. If you had more bread, or even if you have stuffing, like they should, I feel like the Dollar Tree usually does have stuffing, but mine just did not. And then ideas of what to make with the leftovers. My mind always goes shepherd's pie, chicken pot pie. So because I have extra mashed potatoes, I'm like, definitely can make shepherd's pie. You could make potato pancakes and then even have that like with an egg or something. I also have all this corn left, so I was like, with what you have here, I think you can make corn chowder. Like you could make a corn chowder, especially if it was like with the creamy potatoes. You could even put the potato in there. I think that's an option. Those are my ideas, but what I'm going to ask you guys to do is put some ideas in the comments below. You guys have the best frugal ideas that I've ever seen. Like I'm so impressed all the time going into comments, and just some things that I just never would even think of that are just so genius and so obvious and so smart. So I just want to see more. So I'm going to encourage you guys to go down in the comments and say what you would do with the leftovers here. Okay, here's everything that I got from Aldi. You'll notice that I kind of got a lot of different things, and I tried to diversify as much as possible because I'm trying to have like, you know, a full dinner, like everything you would want. But you could always get double stuff, and I'll kind of go through that. So, main thing that I got, you know, we have to start with our turkey. Mandy in the Making said that these turkey breast tenderloins are absolutely fantastic. So I decided to get this as our turkey. This was $6.49, which is more expensive than the turkey breast that they had, like a pre-cooked one. That was $5.99. So you could have gone a little bit cheaper on the $5.99. And then you also could have gotten like a frozen full turkey for around $8. And then a turkey breast, I think, was a little bit cheaper. But I really wanted to try this, so I decided this was going to be like our staple turkey item. But basically, for around $6, you can do your turkey. Now, there's also a thing on the Aldi Nerds community on Facebook that everybody's raving about, where they basically take the deli meat turkey and then they roll it up and then they put the stuffing in it and the gravy mix over it, and it's like this whole Aldi thing. So you could completely do that too. Right. Actually, looking at the receipt, this was $5.59, not $6.49. So I don't know whether it was labeled wrong or if I remembered it incorrectly. And then obviously we have our staples. So our stuffing mix, I love the stuffing mix at Aldi, and this is only 69 cents all the time. They also have the stovetop right now, but I think that's like over $1. It's like $1.19. So why? Like why? This is delicious. We have the turkey gravy mix. Now I thought from the drippings you could totally probably make your own gravy from this, but I just wanted to go easy because I didn't know, I've never cooked this before, so I didn't know whether I was going to be able to get the gravy. So I got the gravy mix for 45 cents. I did the sweet potato, the mashed sweet potatoes. Don't mind the children in the background. You know, they live here. It's like a thing that they do. We've got 89 cents on the sweet potato mash. At Aldi in particular, they don't sell like individual sweet potatoes or potatoes. So I did go with the pre-mades, and these end up being like really cheap too. So you could get butter and then the potatoes, and especially like Walmart would be my recommendation for that. And I'll of course link my Walmart $20 Thanksgiving down below and kind of at the end of the video in a playlist too. But these are easy, and the buttery mashed potatoes are super cheap all the time at 59 cents. So you can't go wrong. There's about 4 servings in each of these, which is perfect for a family of 4. There's 5 of us, but the baby doesn't eat yet, you know. And then I got this Jiffy mix, which so silly. I was like, yeah, we'll make corn muffins. Now, in my last dollar store video, I made corn muffin mix that needed an egg with baking powder, baking soda, and it turned out great. This says it requires an egg, and I didn't buy eggs. I think I'm just going to add the egg and hope that, you know, you guys have a neighbor you can borrow an egg from. You can buy eggs for around $1.14, I think, right now at Aldi. So you could add an extra $1. You could go with a cheaper turkey. Anyway, I thought you need some sort of bread. And I think that corn muffins are delicious for Thanksgiving. So 47 cents for the Jiffy Mix. I always go for this. I love that. And that's, you know, at Dollar Tree, it's $1. So you get that for a lot cheaper. Same thing with these guys. These are less than $1. All these things, they're all less than $1. So in this case, at Aldi, like, you can get a lot more bang for your buck because you're spending less than $1 on every single thing here. Same thing with our canned vegetables. We've got green beans and corn. Now, I know this is Hannaford. Yeah, so they have corn at Aldi for 49 cents usually, and then these French style green beans are also 49 cents, and they were out of the corn. So if you can't find the corn in your area, head over to, you know, your other grocery store or Walmart, or you can go to the Dollar Tree, but it's gonna be a whole $1, which is way more expensive. And then, so this is pretty much our our meal. You're gonna have 2 types of potatoes, green beans and corn, with corn muffin mix in your turkey, which I think is just, I mean, it's quintessential. It's everything that you could want in a meal. And then I ended up going with crescent rolls at 87 cents and hot dogs. These were 99 cents for my appetizers. So I want to do like pigs in a blanket. And so you can always get the, you know, like the little hot dogs. Those are delicious and all, but they're expensive. You can cut up the hot dogs and put the crescent rolls around them, and it's the same thing. It's delicious. And then I didn't get anything for dip. You can eat them without. I'm gonna put some mustard. I mean, mustard is so cheap. Really, anything you have in your fridge for a condiment, and you can go down. I figure if you can go down to a fast food restaurant and grab a couple packets of ketchup or mustard, that we don't have to like buy it just for this. You could get that. And then the heavy whipping cream. So this is what I'm going to use like kind of in place of milk and these things, but also I'm going to make a pudding pie, and then I'm going to make whipped cream for my pumpkin pie. So do we need 2 separate pies for dessert? Absolutely not. But I mean, I feel like pie is really what Thanksgiving's all about. It's not turkey. It's all about the pie, right? So I was able to get the graham cracker pie crust for 89 cents, and then the pudding, I think, is like 40 something cents. It's like so cheap. Yeah, 47 cents for the pudding. And then, you know, you gotta use your cream. That's $2.99. But combine these, if you have 2 pies like this, like, that's amazing. You could totally take this one out or this one out and buy more appetizers, get some chips or something. Or there's a lot of alternatives for pumpkin pie. So I didn't get the stuff to make pumpkin pie because it was actually gonna be more expensive. Just because if I was gonna buy butter and flour and the pumpkin pie filling, and then you need like condensed cream and eggs and this and that, I mean, it was gonna add up quick. And this pie was only $3.49, which was cheaper than it was gonna be to make it. So that's why I got it. Oh, and my son already broke into it because he had never had pumpkin pie, and he loves pumpkin. And he said it was amazing. And the baby does not think it's amazing. But there are a lot of pumpkin alternatives that are less than $3.49. Like, I was looking at the, they even have like the Hostess like pumpkin cupcakes for like $1.49. So you can get your pumpkin fix. The pumpkin roll, I think it was $4.99, so it was more expensive. But I did want to try that because that's all over that Aldi nerd community on Facebook. And I'll post that community page down below in the description box in case you're interested in ever checking it out, because it's really fun stuff and there's like a lot of people on there that post a lot of great ideas. So anyway, let me get to cooking here and we'll make ourselves a dinner. I feel like with Thanksgiving dinner, everything is all about the order of operations. It's not necessarily complicated cooking, but a lot of it matters kind of how you cook and when you cook to make sure that everything is ready in the right order. So in this case, I need to get started with my pie because it needs to sit in the refrigerator for a little while. I always cook pies like the night before for Thanksgiving, and that's kind of like a thing I do with my mom. You guys let me know, what is your night before Thanksgiving tradition? Are you also baking pies? Are you going out with friends? Is there something special you do? So I'm just following the instructions on the back of the pudding package, and there is a pudding pie instructions, and it says to use 1 1/3 cups of milk. And in this case, I just have heavy cream, which really made a nice thick pudding pie mix, and it actually turned out so much like a chocolate mousse. It was absolutely delicious. Then you just want to take your mixture and put it over your graham cracker crust. I can't believe you can get this crust for 89 cents. This whole pie is going to cost less than $2. It's incredible. Now this pie just needs to chill in the refrigerator for at least an hour, and then I'm going to put some homemade whipped cream on it at the end. Now the next item I can make ahead is our Jiffy corn muffin mix. Now like I said, I didn't buy eggs, but I am going to use an egg in this case, but I will make sure to link a few egg alternative recipes in the description box below. And you are using a little bit of our heavy cream here. Again, instead of milk, it did call for milk, and I put heavy cream in, and the cornbread turned out absolutely delicious. So no problem substituting there. Now I am just gonna actually cook mine in a loaf pan and cut it up into like little bread squares, and that turned out perfect. So you can use a loaf pan, you can use an 8x8, or you can make traditional corn muffins, however you wanna do it. So both the things I just did could be done at any time prior to making the meal. But before you make your meal, you're going to want to have your appetizer. So I'm using my crescent rolls and my hot dogs, and I'm cutting them up into thirds. And then I'm cutting each of the crescent rolls in half. And then I'm rolling it around the hot dogs. Now, in this case, I did do something a little bit different than I normally do. I added some olive oil with garlic, Italian seasoning, parsley, and I mixed that up. Now, these are not things I purchased, so whatever you have in your cabinet, you would 100% do not have to do this. This is kind of an extra thing. It's something I feel like I've seen on TikTok lately. Everyone's like up doing the rolls by adding stuff, and I was like, I should add garlic to these. Like, that would be good. If you have it, I would add Parmesan cheese as well, but you could use butter, you could use olive oil, you can use vegetable oil, you can use whatever you have just to add a little something to your pigs in a blanket, and it will zazz them up a little bit. I'll have to tell you that doing that really did add a little something. I mean, I know they're delicious as is, but wow. So you definitely don't need the mini hot dogs. I thought that these turned out just great. Oh, another idea I had was for using everything bagel seasoning. Like if you had that, I bet that would taste so good as well. So these were such a great appetizer. I did end up making these a different day because on the day that we had our Thanksgiving, my husband actually ended up having to work late, and it was just the kids and I, and I was not going to eat that many pigs in a blanket. So I made them on a different day. They turned out awesome, and they would be a perfect appetizer for Thanksgiving. So if you're starting your Thanksgiving meal, this turkey tenderloin takes 50 to 60 minutes according to the package instructions, and that's just how I was going to cook it. So I bought it and I put it on a pan and popped it in the oven for 50 minutes, and that was the perfect amount of time. Like, it was so tender and delicious. We were talking about these tenderloins, and I think that I would buy them really anytime now. We've always done a whole bird for Thanksgiving, and I don't know if the family would like freak out if I did the tenderloins, but it's just so moist. It's exactly what you always want the turkey breast to taste like. So I don't know if I can switch it up and try and do the tenderloin instead. So thank you, Mandy, for that recommendation. It was on point. And here I'm just going to start on my mashed potatoes. We have the sweet potatoes and the regular potatoes. They both need water. I'm just following the instructions. The mashed sweet potatoes actually needed milk, which I'm using my heavy cream, and butter, but again, you can use olive oil or vegetable oil or shortening, whatever you have. I even think that it would probably taste good without the butter. I'm not sure that you would really notice, but I did use the butter because I had it in that case. So I feel like the good thing about potatoes is you can add a little bit of extra water later if they start to get like a little bit clumpy, but you can basically put a tinfoil top over this and keep it hot. And that's a nice thing that you can make earlier on, and they're always a great make ahead-ish meal. I mean, I had 50 minutes, so the first thing I wanted to do was the potatoes. And here, I'm actually reusing my pots and pans after I use them for the potatoes because I just didn't have enough, which worked out just fine. I was able to wash them really quickly. And so I put my corn on to warm up on the stove. You could do this in the microwave as well. And then I'm just finishing up on my sweet mashed sweet potatoes. Now, I would be honest about those from Aldi. They were not my favorite, so I would probably buy something else next time. They were very cinnamony and very sweet. I'm sure many people would love them, but it was not my favorite reconstituted potato that I've ever had. So the corn, once it was heated up, I realized it was really watery, so I did drain that off into the sink. And then I'm heating up my green beans and doing my stuffing. Now the stuffing, again, just according to the package, I did use butter. I think it would taste fine without butter. You could use oil, and you just follow the instructions, but mostly you just need hot water to bring the temperature up on the stuffing. You let it sit for like 5 minutes, and then you fluff it up. And so I think the only thing left to do at this point was to make the gravy. Now, did you call that I forgot the cranberry sauce? Because I totally forgot cranberry sauce. So I did have some in my cabinet. I put it out because the kids are going to freak if they don't have cranberry sauce. It was going to be an extra $1. There was cranberries at the store. There's cranberry sauce. It's usually about $1 at Aldi. So, you know, I may have made a small mistake there. But overall, the dinner was fantastic. Look at this spread. Excited?
Yeah.
So dinner was delicious, and we had tons of leftovers. So this, I believe, would feed more than 4, but it all depends on your family and how much you eat. Now, I haven't made the whipped cream for dessert yet, so I'm using up the last of my heavy whipping cream. I am putting in 2 tablespoons of sugar. I didn't add sugar because you can get sugar packets at Dunkin' Donuts or wherever. And I am whipping this until we get stiff peaks. And that is your fresh made whipped cream. And then I'm going to put that on top of my pudding pie, and we're going to have a wonderful dessert. And that's it, guys. That's a fantastic Thanksgiving. It's only $20, and there are so many different substitutions you can do. I know you're going to have a fabulous holiday. Even in 2022, I think that you're going to be able to do an amazing job. I'm so thankful for the price drops this holiday season. If you're ready to see some more really good budget deals for Thanksgiving, go ahead and check out my current 2022 Walmart $20 Thanksgiving. This is before the price drops, so the video is going to be even tighter than you would even pay today, so you can actually even get more deals, I think, if you were to buy that now. So I want to thank you so much for watching, and have a fabulous Thanksgiving.